As we return, dear friends, to the present day, in the robust and routine life of the Clydesdale and the owl in the forest, we find them again, washing hogs. There is a relative silence until the Clydesdale speaks. We need a new place. To which the owl replied, I thought you liked all the stretch out room here. Autumn rolled her eyes and said, It is too difficult, with all this wide open, to return the hogs to the pen. What about someplace smaller? Cozy. The owl immediately thought of Lenore's Candy Cottage, while also understanding how to introduce this topic would take a certain amount of finesse and delicacy. The owl summoned the old mother and father badger, who promptly arrived to tend to the hogs while they were away. As the owl and the Clydesdale made their way deeper into the forest towards Lenore's Candy Cottage, Clydesdale spoke up. How do you know about this place, Owl? The owl cleared his throat. I was born in this forest. I found it a long time ago. Right, said Clydesdale. She was starting to dislike the ever tighter crowding of trees. The owl had no issue to navigate between them, but she had to shimmy through many trees to keep pace with the owl. After more traveling and navigating trees with limbs akimbo for the Clydesdale, they both arrived in a large clearing with a small building. The owl spoke first. Look at this awesome place. This is the gingerbread and candy cottage. Autumn stood at a distance and held her ground, saying, No, Owl. This is an old wooden shack that has turned gray from age. Look, one window is even broken. The owl was confused, but also in the habit of not arguing, that he continued. At least take 5 minutes to look inside. It is warm, and we can play checkers. Autumn rolled her eyes and looked at the chimney, and there was gray smoke, but she looked away too soon to notice that the gray smoke was going in and not coming out of the chimney. Fine, she said, and she pushed the dilapidated front door open. As they both went in, Autumn quickly saw the wood-burning stove was cold, not warm. In the back wall were 2 chairs and a table with an empty bottle and 2 empty glasses. Indeed, not a checkerboard. The owl stood in the room with wings wide open, clicking his bill as if displaying some magnificent artifact. The Clydesdale spoke. I hate it. I'm picking the next place. As they both turned, the front door moved by itself, revealing the house's owner. At that exact same time, the owl said, Lenore! And the Clydesdale made a frantic move. At this moment, my friends, Autumn's pose looked less like a horse and more like a terrified cat. Her hooves had all slid out from underneath her, which made 4 hollow thuds that shook the entire house. The owl saw Lenore with the gray hoodie, and now a painful smile, standing behind the door. Autumn saw Lenore as an outline of a human composed entirely of smoke, and in place of a face was a hollow where mirth used to live. Autumn gathered the courage to speak. What is that, Owl? The owl replied. That is Lenore. We play checkers. Autumn snorted hard and said, Open the windows so that the lies may fly out. Autumn promptly galloped at full speed straight out the front door. The owl looked at Lenore, who was silent, and the owl shrugged his wings, and he also flew out. As the owl was flying away from Lenore's shack, he looked back and wondered why anyone would hate such a quaint little candy cottage. Looking forward again, the owl saw the Clydesdale was nowhere in sight. However, it was easy to track her given the wake of uprooted small trees and broken low branches that had been in her path. The owl decided not to hurry to get going back where he had came from at the hog farm. Upon arriving, the owl found the hog farm desolate. The Clydesdale and the hogs were waiting by the edge of the clearing. Autumn spoke as the owl glided closer. Today, you take us out of the vast sweet oat. Today you take us out to the vast sweet oat field and apple orchard as promised. The owl climbed in altitude and circled toward the correct path out of the forest. The owl believed he was out of earshot when he said, What a waste. What was that? Said Autumn keenly. I bet, choked the owl, you cannot wait to taste those apples and sweet oats. The hog squealed with delight as the news of sweet oats and apples. Right, said Autumn. The rest of the journey was silent. As the owl reached the far edge of the forest, he took perch on a high branch and could see the apple orchards and sweet oat fields. Looking forward to the heart of the forest, he saw the candy cottage with the gray smoke puffing happily from the chimney. "Well, Owl," said Autumn in a somber yet light-hearted tone, "it's been real. You know what I mean, Jellybean?" They said their goodbyes, and as Clydesdale and the Hogs left the forest, the owl stayed. As the three left the tree line, they were met by heavy galloping and at the same time 2 excited greetings. "Brightfire! Autumn!" Brightfire, who had long since healed, was carrying Johann, king of the Stoats, and an evil chicken on her back. Following them was the full league of Stoats, who moved in waves as if on the surface of the ocean. All introductions were made, and the group moved into the fields and the orchard. The owl clicked his bill. He noticed the sun was quickly setting and wondered if Lenore was up for a round or 2 of checkers. The owl arrived at the county cottage and did not soon come out for an age. In fact, the owl had indeed furloughed himself into a 4 of checkers with Lenore, who now taught the owl exactly what it meant to lose many games of checkers. The owl also took part in misadventures that only he found to be hilarious. This level of wanton self-destruction previously could only be found in certain Asian cuisine. Oh, the circus! The circus is here to stay, my friends. A magnificent 3-tent circus. The first tent was yellow and white striped, which housed all our favorite circus foods. The yellow and white tent had drifting smells that competed for olfactory attention. Smells like salted peanuts, popped corn, candy floss, sugared funnel cakes, and of course, sassafras root beer fizz. The second tent was far more expansive than the first and was red and white striped. The red and white striped tent housed all manner of booths and tables for skill games and prizes, such as comic books, whistles, and other noisemakers, and all manner of candy and confection. The red and white tent also had a large white wooden gazebo in the center for resting. The third tent was an absolute monstrosity, towering well over the yellow or the red tents. This tent was striped with green and white and housed all the performances. The massive green tent boasted enigmatic performances by the Tattooed Woman, trapeze high flyers, jugglers, magicians, snake charmers, knife throwers, face painters, and a strongman. Outside, all 3 tents were shored up by great, thick shipping ropes that were then lashed to massive iron stakes set deep into the ground. Also, all 3 tents had length after length of electric string lights inside and out, so the circus could go on well past sunset. Also outside the tents were mechanical rides. There was a miniature train ride, boat ride, spinning teacup ride, and an enormous Ferris wheel. This was a veritable wonderland of entertainment for all circus patrons. In the yellow tent, one can get their fill of munchies and crunchies. In the red tent, one can get their fill of cheers and jeers. In the green tent, one can get their fill of oohs and ahs. Outside in the fairway, one could get their fill of chills and thrills. This is indeed a circus of circuses to behold. That terrible old circus owner must, with the caliber of this show, have more money than the devil himself would know what to do with. There is the old circus owner right now, in the center of the green tent, barking orders at the skilled performers, enticing the crowd into a frenzy with a megaphone. Oh, gracious! Oh, my friends, look back. This is not the old cruel circus performer. Could it be? Yes, it is. It's our friend, the girl Red Panda Caramel. So that is why the signs outside all say Caramel Circus. What indeed, my friends, has happened to that overturned circus wagon where Caramel and Red Panda had been locked in a cupboard, and after her twin brother and the old circus owner vanished? The world may never know. What is known is that the world nonetheless was very fateful spring night full of crisp air, whereupon the owl fared very poorly indeed. During said spring night, which was full of crisp air, we find our friend the owl a very sore loser after many games of checkers with Lenore. Logically, the owl decides to clear his head with an evening fly around the forest. The great horned owl was quickly disoriented, yet persevered and soon found himself flying out of the eastern edge of the forest. The owl saw a familiar road where he met and freed the Clydesdales. He was mystified, however, as to the explanation of this monstrosity of sights, sounds, and smells. The great horned owl dive-bombed this menagerie for the senses. Then everything was very painful. Then everything went black. At this very moment, my dear friend, the owl cannot open his eyes, but he can very clearly hear hushed conversations around him. I know, I had heard. I'm hungry. Can we eat soon? I could not have believed it. I am just so grateful. I did not hear until later. What sounds good to eat? Look, he's awake. At this moment, my dear friends, the owl opened his eyes and heard a sound that he had never heard before. This was the sound of all the air being sucked out of the room by all the other people around him. The great horned owl heard light tinkling and patterned sounds around him. He recognized the pattering sounds as someone walking about. The owl then noticed his left wing was bound up in bandages, but it was not painful. About time you were getting up. It's midday. How are you feeling? Said a cheerful yet concerned squeaky voice. The owl saw the voice belonged to a red panda, who was counting shiny, round metal flats. I am okay, thank you, said the owl. Say, he began again, how did I get here, and where is here? The red panda grinned a cheerful, full-toothed smile and spoke. I would like to know how you got here, too. And this is my house, Caramel Circus, she said as she waved her paws with a flourish. The owl was reminded of something and spoke out loud. Time is a circus, always packing up and moving away. The red panda clapped her paws and said, this circus never packs up. This is my home. The owl was curious and asked, what are those shiny metal flats you have there? The ever-plucky red panda thus informed the owl that the circus customers gave these shiny metal flats for visiting and doing things in her circus, and that they were called coins, which sounded important, so Caramel counted and saved every coin. How many coins do you have saved? Said the owl. Red Panda's eyes lit up and gave another full tooth smile and said, a bazillion coins. Still curious, the owl again said, so what are the coins good for? Caramel walked around behind the table with tall stacks of coins on it, each one taller and shinier than the next, picked up an overflowing cup double handful, and then raised the coins high in the air above the table and released them, and she chittered and squealed as they clattered on top of the table, her eyes wide and bright. What are they good for? Repeated Caramel to the owl. The great horned owl clicked his bill, waiting. Caramel made another full-toothed smile and stretched her paws skyward and said, I have no idea. Then the owl rotated his head from noon to 6 and said, it sure is a good thing you are pretty. Caramel held both her paws under her chin with her eyes wide and asked, you think I'm pretty? The owl replied, well, of course I do. And from this moment on, my dear friends, the owl and the red panda shared dancing and joy at the circus, also from which they were brought forth a young bullfrog.